What is up, my YouTube family? So in today's video we're going to be going through the most comprehensive step-by-step guide on how to create a successful Amazon FBA business in 2019. So go and grab yourself a coffee, some popcorn and a notebook, because this is a video you do not want to miss. Alright guys, welcome back to the video. So we're going to get straight into it now. So we're going to be discussing the 5 simple steps that you need to take in order to find your product and launch it on Amazon. So I'm going to walk you through every one of those steps, beginning with product research. So we're going to be discussing how and where you find your first profitable product and how you know it's going to be a success before you invest in it in bulk. Step number 2, we're going to be discussing product sourcing. So where is it that you buy your product from and how do you find the best supplier to suit both of your needs? Step number 3, we're going to be talking about product listing and product optimization. So we're going to walk you through how to build your listing inside your Seller Central account and how to fully optimize your listing, and this is in terms of SEO and exactly what your buyers are looking for. So title, correct images, the best copy that you can find. Step number 4, we're going to be discussing what barcode you should be buying. Should you be buying GS1 or second or third hand barcodes, and how you ship your product once it's been manufactured, how you actually ship that product from China to your designated warehouse. And then finally, step number 5, we're going to be discussing how you successfully launch your product to guarantee you rank on page 1 and how to get those reviews, because they are almost impossible to come by if you are solely relying on the goodwill of people to just leave you a review. There are active things that we can be doing to be getting those reviews, and we're going to be walking through that process step by step. But first of all, let's discuss what FBA actually is. So FBA is a legitimate business model that stands for Fulfillment by Amazon. It was a program launched by Amazon in 2007, so it's coming up to 12 years old. At the moment, about 53% of all of Amazon's revenue is from people that sell via FBA. So these are third-party sellers like myself, and hopefully like yourself, that you're trying to get into this business. In fact, currently 1 in every 12 sellers on Amazon are making over $100,000 revenue a year. So basically Amazon do all the heavy lifting for us. So we find our product, we ship it into Amazon, and then they handle the entire physical logistics of our product. So basically, if someone buys our product, Amazon will take that from their fulfillment center, put it into one of their delivery vans, and then off it goes, and it will be delivered to our customer. We don't do any of that work for us. Having said that, obviously there are some fees associated. So there are 2 primary fees when it comes to fulfillment by Amazon. So you have your seller's fee and you have an FBA fee. The seller's fee is going to depend on the product you are selling. So the seller's fee is determined by the weight and the dimension of the product. The FBA fee, however, is a flat rate 15% charge on the sale price of that product. Well, let's say you're selling a product on Amazon for $20. The FBA fee for that, 15%, will be $3. So Amazon actually provide an FBA calculator that you can use free of charge that will help you decide if the product you're looking at is going to be profitable before you actually buy it. So that's a brief history of FBA. So now let's actually get into step number 1, product research. So as you can see, there are 8 points we need to discuss when it comes to product research. The first is determining whether or not the product we're looking at has sufficient demand. The second point we need to consider is, does that product have too much competition? We need to make sure we're not investing in a seasonal product, because we don't want to have a sudden spike at Christmas and then have no sales throughout the rest of the year. Point number 4, we need to consider the search history of this product. So we need to make sure that this product has a steady search history throughout the year. This way we can be sure that our product is going to sell from January to January. Point number 5, we need to make sure the product that we're looking at doesn't have a patent or a trademark. Point number 6, sales history. We need to make sure that the sales history of the product we're looking at has had a steady history of its current price. Point number 7 is differentiation. So we're going to be discussing different ways you could potentially differentiate your product to attract attention and steal some sales. And finally, we're going to be looking at bundling. Does your product require a bundle in order to get attention? So once upon a time, when FBA first started, you would have to do that entire 8-step process manually. Fortunately, 12 years later, there are softwares available that can do that research for you in a matter of seconds. Actually, all it takes is a few filters and you can literally narrow down an entire niche just like that. So the software I use is called Jungle Scout. So Jungle Scout were the first software that came out that allowed you to search Amazon's database as a seller rather than a buyer. What that's allowed us to do is to put in specific search criteria to search Amazon's database as a buyer. For example, as we can see in the picture, we could literally search for a product that is selling for a minimum of $20, a minimum of 400 sales a month, and a maximum of 100 reviews. So that will pull up a list of products that meet that criteria, selling for a minimum of $20, a minimum of 400 sales per month, and a maximum of 100 reviews. So in terms of demand, what I like to see from a product, especially for my first product, I would like to see 300 sales a month. So what that generally means is that you're going to be getting 10 sales a day. However, you need to make sure those sales are being somewhat evenly split between the top 10 sellers on page 1. So what you don't want to see is that there's 300 average sales every month, but 280 of them belong to the top seller. So what that means is that niche is brand dominated. As a new seller, you just won't be able to compete against a brand name like Nike or Adidas. So you want to be finding a niche where there's a good amount of sales, but where also those sales are actually being evenly distributed between the top 10 or so sellers. So revenue is the next thing that you should be considering. So generally speaking, you're going to be taking about a third in profit from the total gross sale. So what I recommend people doing is finding a product that is doing revenue between $10,000 to $15,000 a month, because that means your profit, your takeaway from that is going to be between $3,000 and $5,000 a month. So why I say a third, generally speaking, is because the way I like to divide it is, and obviously it doesn't always play out this way because sometimes fees cost more or you spend more on PPC or whatever, but generally speaking, you keep a third, your supplier keeps a third, and Amazon keep a third. Whether or not you actually see a third of that is up to you. That depends on how you want to run your business. I personally would suggest investing all of your profit back into the business for the first at least 6 months. So even if that means you were getting 2,000 profit, I would put that back into the business because that's going to allow you to either expand that product more and order more units, or if you were already at the sort of max quantity that you can order for one time without being charged storage fees, it's going to allow you to do more product research on other products. And you can repeat this process as many times. There's no limit on how many products you get. So within the first year, let's say, if you keep on putting in that 2,000 every time you're getting paid from Amazon, eventually you're going to have, by the end of the year, maybe 3 or 4 products. So that 2,000 that we were putting back into the business is now maybe 10,000, but now that's all yours to keep. So the next thing we need to consider is the search history for the product that we're looking at. So what we want to see on Google Trends is a relatively straight line across the border. So this means that there's a steady amount of search traffic for that keyword throughout the year. What you don't want to see is something like this. So what we see here is the search term for Christmas tree over a 12-month period. Obviously, this is a seasonal item. If we found a product that looked like this, we would avoid this based on this graph. So what we can see here is that there's no search history for this, there's no relevancy, and then suddenly when we hit December, boom, there's that massive spike and then it dips. And then we can see this again if we go over to the 5-year search history, exactly the same. Every December there's that predictable spike, but then the other 11 months there's absolutely no search history. Another thing we want to stay away from is a fad, something that comes in really hot and is trending but then suddenly dies off. So you guys will remember the fidget spinner. Well, if we see a graph that looks like this, you should absolutely avoid this product. So you can see before the fidget spinner was invented, obviously there was no search history for that keyword. Suddenly the fidget spinner came in, it came in really hot, it lasted for a couple months and then it died, and now it's as if it doesn't exist again. So here's a graph that we should be looking at. So there's consistent search volume around this product year round, and that's the kind of product that we should be looking into. So if you find a graph like that, we can confidently say there's a steady search history for this product year round. Now, Google Trends obviously takes data from Google. However, we know that Amazon have 50% of the e-commerce revenue in the entirety of online. So Google Trends data actually translates quite well to Amazon. So after we've checked for seasonality, the next thing we need to make sure is that the product we are looking at doesn't have a patent or a trademark. So the best place to look for this, if you're selling on Amazon.com, is to head over to a site called USPTO. So that stands for United States Patent and Trademarks Office. When you get to the USPTO website, simply type in the product idea that you're looking for, and it will come up with a bunch of items. Just scroll through and make sure that the product you're looking at isn't there. So if you don't know what a patent is or a trademark, I'll explain the difference now quickly. So a patent is a government protected idea. It's the technology behind the product. The trademark is typically the logo or a slogan or a picture. So it's quite essential that we understand the difference between those two terms, because often we might be infringing on one of them and we don't think we are because our understanding of the two is skewed. So it's important that we understand that difference. So just make sure that when you are looking at a product, definitely don't skip out on this step, because if you are infringing a patent or a trademark, you are liable to be sued, and there's not really anything you can do about it, because patents and trademarks are government protected and they're paid for. Legally, it means you can be sued and there's nothing you can do about it, because ultimately you're the one in the wrong. The next thing we need to be thinking about is the sales history. Historically, how has the product been selling? How many units has it been selling a day, and at what price? So you may have found a product that you think is a really good niche to get into, and let's say it's selling at $25. However, we don't know on face value that $25 is the historical price behind this product. It could be selling for $12, but due to a recent influx in demand, maybe there's a holiday going on that's bumping its sales, they've decided to increase the price for a week or two up to $20 or $25. But what happens after that period is that it'll go back down to $12. So we need to make sure the product that we're looking at has a steady history of a consistent price. And we also need to make sure the sales are doing the same as well. So this is much like the Google Trends check. We need to make sure that not only is it being searched for consistently across the year, it's actually being purchased consistently as well. So if you're using Jungle Scout, like I recommended at the beginning of the video, you can actually plug in your product to the product tracker. And what this is going to do is, it may take a day or two to load the data, but what it's going to do is it's going to give you the historical sales volume and the average sale price over there's a select amount of period you can choose from. I think you can choose from like 30, 60 and 90 days or something like that. But that's going to give you a historic overview of how the product has been selling in terms of the search volume and the search price. And then finally, the last thing we need to discuss is, do we need to differentiate our product and do we need to bundle the product? So if there's good demand for your product, but every single product is the same, then you may want to think about differentiating your product. So the best way to differentiate your product is to actually look at the pain points that your customers are experiencing. So what I like to do here is browse all of your competitors' reviews and search for the reviews that are 4 stars and lower, but search from the bottom up, so search from 1 star first. When you're browsing through the reviews, eventually you're going to find a theme. You're going to find some common keywords that keep occurring in the negative reviews, and this is going to be what people are saying is wrong with the current products that are on the market, and this is your opportunity to come in and solve that pain to make your product really stand out. So let's say you're selling the reusable produce bags and you've browsed through the reviews and you've noticed that one of the main complaints is that when you put too much shopping in it, the carry handle can't handle the weight and it breaks apart from the bag. So that would be one of the things that you would relay to your supplier. Say, hey, I've noticed in the reviews that the carry handle regularly snaps. Could we reinforce this by using a different material? Or perhaps the logo is embroidered onto the reusable bag, but it keeps washing off. The color is fading every time it's put through a wash cycle. So you could relay that to your supplier and say, hey, the color keeps fading on my competitors' products. Could we come up with a way that we can wash this time and time again and the colors won't fade? So you need to be browsing through the negative reviews and seeing the pain points your customers are experiencing, and then addressing those pain points and relaying those to your supplier. Another great way to differentiate your product is by simply doing some research around what variations are selling better. So if there's a particular color you notice that's selling more of, then you should be ordering more of that color. Same goes with sizes. If you notice that if you're selling the reusable bags, if you notice that the medium-sized bags are selling more, or a certain quantity of those bags are selling more. So let's say frequently bought together, you notice the same item is being bought frequently together. That means that the demand for that item means you need to be purchasing more bags. So you could differentiate by simply including more produce bags in your one shipment. So let's say they're selling 9 bags, but you notice frequently bought together they're buying another 9 bags. You could relay that to your supplier and say, hey, people are actually buying 18 bags at a time, so we're going to order 18 bags for every one sale. And then finally, we have the bundling. So bundling is a great way to stand out from your competitor, and bundling is typically when there's a good demand, but your competition also has good reviews. So there's not necessarily a pain, it's just your product is being more convenient because you are targeting select items you know that sell well with the product you're looking at. If we go back to the reusable produce bags, what I noticed when I was doing some research on the produce bags is that not only were grocery bags selling really well, but also silicone freezer bags were selling really well after purchasing a reusable produce bag. So that can give you an idea on how to bundle your products. So a great way to decide what products are selling well with the product you're looking at getting into is to check the frequently bought together section on the Amazon listing you were looking at. Alternatively, you can scroll down even further to the bottom of the page and you will see what says, what do customers buy after viewing this item? So here you'll be able to see what products people are buying after they viewed the product that you are looking at. And this will just reinforce what you should be bundling with your product. So that is step number 1, how to do product research on Amazon FBA in 2019 for beginners. Believe me when I say that was a beginner's tutorial, because we can go so much more in depth when it comes to product research. And believe me when I say this, product research, although it's the first step I'm going to be walking you through, it is also the stage you're going to spend the longest in. Because if you have a bad product but you master the rest of the steps in this process, you still won't do well. However, if you get a great product but you suck at the next 4 steps, you're still going to do well, because regardless of how you are marketing it, if you've got a good product, it generally sells itself. So take product research very seriously, and if you want to learn how to go further in depth, then join the Facebook group and we can have a chat on Facebook about how to go deeper into these product research ideas. So the link to the Facebook group is obviously just down below in the description. So make sure to join the Facebook group if you want to have a chat about product research and how to go much further and in much more detail. Alright guys, so part 2 to this 5-step process is product sourcing. Alright guys, so as you can see there are 9 points on the screen at the moment. And these are the factors that we need to consider when we are sourcing our products. And they are gold supplier, verified supplier, how many years in business has our supplier been, the number of recent transactions, do they have an independent website, how many payment methods do they offer. We need to remember to negotiate with them because our suppliers will always give us a quote that they are willing to go lower on, and they are testing our negotiation abilities. So if they give you a quote for $5 a unit, they are probably actually happy for you to spend $3 a unit or $3.50 on a unit. They're just testing the waters and seeing what they can get away with. Point 8 is to remember to be as specific as you can, because this is going to reduce the amount of time we're in communication. And finally, should we be sampling our products before investing in it? So the site you're going to head to when you are sourcing your product is Alibaba. So this is the site that the majority of FBA sellers go to source their products. The company is based in China, and that's also where we're going to be shipping the majority of our products from. So when you get to Alibaba, you would type in your keyword, whatever it is you're looking for. So for this example, we'll continue with the reusable produce bags. So you would type in reusable produce bags, and then what you want to do is tick supplier type, and this is going to open up 2 options. So it's going to open up trade assurance and verified supplier. So you want to tick both of those options, and now this is going to narrow down our search results based on the suppliers that meet this specific criteria. So trade assurance just offers you a bit more protection when you're sending money over, and verified supplier is a premium membership that your supplier is buying into. So you want to make sure that your supplier has both of those things checked. So the next thing you want to be looking for is whether or not your supplier is a gold supplier. So much like verified supplier, gold supplier is a premium membership. However, it's not considered as trustworthy as verified, but it is still more trustworthy than suppliers that don't have any verification at all. So you can't specifically search for gold supplier like you used to be able to, but it's very visible when you're searching through the listings on who is a gold supplier or not. So if the supplier is a gold supplier, at the bottom of their listing you'll see a little gold coin, and that means that they are a gold supplier. So now we've sort of done a preliminary vetting on our supplier, we can get a little more in depth as well once we actually start contacting some suppliers. So the next thing I like to look at is how many years has this supplier been in business, and do they have a healthy amount of transactions. So once you've actually clicked through on a supplier, on the right hand side you'll be able to see how many years they've been in business and how many recent transactions they've had. So in this instance we can see they've been in business for 9 years and they have had 74 transactions within the last 6 months. And we can also see they've got a 4.9 out of 5 rating. So this is a really good supplier I would be happy to contact. So the last thing that you may want to check for when you are vetting suppliers is, does my supplier actually have a website that's independent from Alibaba? So you would just type in the manufacturer's name on Google and see if a website comes up. So now we have fully vetted our suppliers and we are happy to start contacting them. So that's exactly what we want to do. What I suggest is contacting a minimum of 10 suppliers. Now you don't have to have the intention of actually buying from any one of these, but what we're doing here is we're gathering data about our suppliers. Who is a reliable supplier and who is trying to rip us off and give us an extortionate price. So generally speaking, 10 suppliers is going to be enough data to give us an outlier, and we're going to be able to see a realistic price that we should be looking at to get invested in this product. So if you don't know what you're saying when you are first contacting your supplier, don't worry, because you are not alone. Everybody gets nervous when they contact their very first supplier for the first time, which is why I've built you a free template that you can use to send to any supplier you ever message. All you need to do is change the relevant bits of information, such as your name and their name and the product you're looking at investing in. So if you are interested in that free template, I need you to do 2 things for me. First thing, I need you to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell. That way you're notified every time I upload a video. The second thing, join the Facebook group, the link is in the description below. Once you've done those 2 things, have a chat with me in the Facebook group and I will happily send you the initial contact template that I still use to this day to contact suppliers. So during your correspondence with your supplier, what you should also be checking out is what different payment methods do they accept. So the 2 most popular payment methods are TNT and PayPal, and I definitely recommend PayPal. And the answer behind that is that if anything should go wrong with your payment, if you are scammed and the supplier takes your money and runs with it and stops replying to your messages, PayPal have a way of recovering your money and they will make sure that you are paid. However, if you're using PayPal, you need to be aware that there is obviously a conversion rate when you are sending your money over. So I think this is somewhere between 3 to 5%. I can't remember the exact figure at the moment. But just remember, if you get a bill for $1,000, be prepared to pay an extra 5% on top of that for the conversion rate of using PayPal. So once you've found a bunch of suppliers that you're happy with and you've sent them out that free template that you just got from me, the next thing you need to be doing is asking all of the suppliers that have replied back to you that you are now interested in for a sample. So I've actually made a video on this, I'll link in the description below. So I won't get into too much detail here because I did literally just make a video yesterday on this. But the quick answer to this is yes, you absolutely need to order a sample, because you are never actually going to see your product. Your product goes from China to Amazon. There is no middle ground there. You never actually see your physical product. So the best way to see your product is to order a sample of it. And this allows you to do an inspection. So the tip I give people is to order 2 samples, one prior to production and one after production. So the one they ship to you prior to production is going to be a demo. That's going to be one that was produced for another person that they had leftover of. So they will ship that one out to you. Then what you need to do is if you ask for an order of 500 units, actually ask them for 501 and tell them when production is finished to ship that one to your address. This way you have 2 samples to look at, one pre and one post production, and this will allow you to compare the quality, to see how your logo looks in person, to see any small details that there might have been missing on the photos, and to test the product. You need to be able to test the product before you put it on the market. So with the reusable bags, you need to make sure that those pain points that you were looking at fixing earlier have actually been solved. So take the reusable produce bag shopping with you, load it up with loads of shopping and make sure the handle doesn't break, or put it through the wash 10 times and make sure the colour doesn't fade. So these are all things that you can't do unless you order the sample. So yes, you absolutely need to order a sample. Once you are happy with the sample and you are happy with the supplier, the final thing left to do is pay for your products. Now, before you pay for your products, there is one last optional step. And yes, I say optional for a reason. This step is inspections. So you can hire a company in China to go and independently inspect your production. However, if you have adequately sampled your own product and you've had it shipped to your address before and after production, you shouldn't actually need to hire an inspection company. I always tell people to communicate regularly with their suppliers during production, and it's okay to jump on Skype. And it's actually common practice to ask for a tour around the factory. So I would recommend people ask for a tour every few days and ask how production is doing, and to ask for them to show the production in progress on Skype. This way you can keep an eye on what's going on, and you can make sure that they aren't skimping out on quality. If you test your sample after the production is finished and you are happy with how the sample looks, this greatly mitigates the need to actually pay for an inspection service, and this is going to save you $100 or $200. Now, if you are happy to proceed to the payment, what happens with Alibaba is that prior to production, you pay 30% of the balance. This means that after production, you still have the 70% to pay. However, if you are looking to get an inspection service, absolutely get the inspection service to come and inspect your products before you send the remaining 70%. Otherwise, if you're happy with the sample you received and you're happy to go ahead, then settle the 70% balance, and that is you finished with your supplier. Now, the last thing we need to quickly discuss is on what platform should you communicate with your supplier. So a lot of people tend to say communicate outside of Alibaba because it's faster, whereas I would say as long as you are being as specific as you can, which you will be with the free template, that greatly mitigates the need to be in constant communication. Because you've given them so much information up front, you're not really giving them an opportunity to ask you 100 questions back. So I would always recommend keeping your communication on Alibaba, because that is a platform that you're going to need to argue with if something has gone wrong with your production. So you can actually pull up Alibaba's chat and say, well, actually, you said this and this and you've only delivered this. So you can actually use Alibaba as a way of protecting yourself when you're communicating with your suppliers. So now you're happy with your supplier and you're happy with the product that you sampled, it's now time to create your listing inside Seller Central. And this is where things start to get really interesting. So welcome to step 3 in this 5-part series. So we're now on product optimization. So the very first thing you're going to notice when you create your Seller Central account, which by the way is going to be your hub for all things Amazon seller related. So inside your Seller Central account, this is where you're going to see all of your PPC reports, how you're going to create your product listing, how you're going to optimize your listing, how you're going to create campaigns, coupons, vouchers. Seller Central becomes your new home, and trust me, when you start making sales, you will be checking your Seller Central literally every 2 minutes. Anyway, the very first thing you'll notice when you create a Seller Central account is you are presented with 2 options. And this is a basic account or a professional account. So there are 2 very big differences with these accounts. The basic account is free and the professional account is $40 a month. So initially you would think the basic account is the better of the options. However, with the basic account, there's no monthly fee for having a Seller Central account with Amazon. However, you're charged $1 for every sale that you make. So this is only a cost-effective method if you are selling less than 40 items a month, which may be the case, but I highly doubt it. So when you're first starting your account, maybe you start your account in February and your product gets to Amazon in March. Obviously for that first month you would pick the basic account, and when you actually plan on selling your stock, that's when you upgrade to a professional account. So you can upgrade or downgrade at any point in time, and there's no ifs or buts about it. Seller Central let you pick between these 2 whenever you want, and you're not punished for downgrading, and certainly not punished for upgrading either. But before we go any further, let's take a quick look at the 8 points in how to optimize your listing. So we just mentioned the Seller Central account. This is a unique account to Amazon sellers, and this is where you control your business. So this is where you create your product listing. This is where you create your shipping plans. And like we said just then, This is where you're going to be creating your PPC campaigns and your promotions and your vouchers. So you're going to become really familiar with Seller Central over the upcoming months. So when it comes to actually optimizing your listing, there are a few key things that we need to consider, and they are the product title. So this is going to include the length of the title and what we're actually including in the title to make it eye-catchy. But not just eye-catchy, we need to make sure we're putting in the keywords that Amazon's A9 algorithm are actually going to pick up on. So the next thing we need to discuss is images, and this is such an important factor. It's actually one of the most important pieces you need to know when it comes to product optimization, but we'll talk about this more in a minute. The next thing is your product description and the bullet points. You need to know how to describe your product, and the best way to do this is to know the difference between your product features and your product benefits. So we'll discuss that more in a minute. Your back-end keywords, so these are the invisible keywords that your customers don't see, but that you are still putting in your listing, so you are ranking for them, even though your customers can't visibly see them on your listing. EBC, which stands for Enhanced Brand Content. Now this is advanced stuff, so I'm not going to spend too long on this because this is a beginner's tutorial, but it's worth mentioning at the very least. Price is also another big thing you need to consider. So we're going to be playing some psychological tricks on our customers here. And for those of you that are new to the channel, I have a major in psychology. Psychology has been my life prior to Amazon. And I absolutely love squeezing in a bit of psychology where I can with my business. So we're going to be doing that with the pricing. Things like scarcity and perceived value, these are all things that are going to drive your sales, even though your price is actually, it's just the same that it always was. And to finish off the listing optimization, we're going to discuss how to create a voucher or a promotion. So after we've created our Seller Central account and we've picked either the individual or the professional plan, the next thing we need to do is get our listing active on Amazon. So we're going to add our product, and for the sake of this example, we're going to continue with the reusable produce bags. When you go to add a product, you will have to find its category. If you don't know the category for the product you're trying to list, then I suggest you find a listing that is similar to yours, preferably the listing that you have based your product research off of, and find what category they are listing in. So make your way over to your competitor's listing and scroll down to where it says product information. And then here we can see where it says bestsellers rank, and this is going to give us every single category that this product is placed in. So you can see it says kitchen and dining, storage organization, travel and to-go food containers, reusable grocery bags. So we're back on our listing now and we've got through to the end, reusable shopper bags. Now we click select. So the first thing you're going to be presented with after confirming your product category is to confirm the product ID. So the product ID is going to be the unique code you got when you purchased your barcodes. So if you're selling in the United States of America, which I strongly suggest as a beginner, because it's the biggest market, then click UPC and then type in the product ID. So the next thing we need to do is type in the product title. So this is going to be the title that appears when somebody searches for your product. So for now, just put in the broadest keyword because we haven't done any keyword research yet. We don't know what keywords are converting. So we'll start off just by putting reusable produce bags. Now your brand name, you want to make this quite general. You don't want to make it too specific, because if you make it too specific at the beginning, it's going to limit what you can sell underneath this brand. So if we, for instance, made this brand name Eco Bags, the only items we're ever going to be able to sell under this brand legitimately that actually makes sense is reusable eco-friendly bags. Whereas if we said something like eco-friends, that now opens up a bigger market for us to explore. Now in this instance, we're still limiting ourselves to the eco-friendly niche, but that's okay because that's a big niche. But if you wanted to go even broader, then come up with a completely random name and that would be absolutely fine. Now the manufacturer, I like to keep the manufacturer and the brand name the same. So the manufacturer is going to be your storefront name. So I think Eco Friends is quite a good storefront name to have. So that is going to be the blue name that comes up on your listing that someone can click through, and they're going to be brought to your store. They're going to be brought to your personal store on Amazon, and they'll be able to browse through all of your goods. So after you've filled out the vital information tab, the next tab we need to have a look at is the offers. So now we're in the offers tab, and the very first thing we need to do is scroll down to where it says fulfillment channel. Here we need to select one of these two options. So it has pre-selected this top option, which says I want to dispatch this item myself to the customer if it sells. So what this means is this is the FBM option, which stands for fulfilled by merchant. In this instance, you are the merchant. So what this basically means is whenever you make a sale on Amazon, you are personally responsible for handling the delivery of the item to your customer, and you are responsible for the storage of your products. So this means when you are making your shipment plan on Amazon, you are going to ship your goods from China to your home address. And then the bottom option, I want Amazon to dispatch and provide customer service for my items if they sell. This is the FBA option, which stands for fulfilled by Amazon. So this basically means that Amazon will store, dispatch, and handle returns on your products. So this obviously means when you're creating your shipment plan with Amazon, you would need to select Amazon as a fulfillment center for your delivery address for your shipment rather than your personal address. So I strongly recommend that everybody starts with FBA. And if you want to, for whatever reason, you can explore FBM at a later date. But FBA handles the logistics for you, and it just takes a lot of pressure off of you. So following our selection of the fulfillment channel, we need to click on Advanced View. When we do that, it's going to open up a bunch of new variables. So you will see the first thing we need to do is add the price. So this is what we intend to sell the product at. So we've typed in $30 and then the sale price. Now, this is what we actually intend to sell the product at. So I've picked $20, and what this means is when you set a sale price, you will see on the listing the $30 has been scribbled out, and underneath it in big it will say sale price $20, saving of 33%. So what you can do here is experiment with the top one, your price, because the higher you increase this, the higher the perceived value. So at the moment, we are currently running a 33% discount, although it's not actually a discount because $20 is the price that we wanted to sell at originally. So this top one is just creating that sense of urgency that there is a discount and they don't know when that discount ends. So they're more likely to purchase from it. So at the moment, obviously this is a 33% discount. However, if we raise this to say $40, that would then appear as a 50% discount because $20 of $40 is 50%. So you would need to select a date that you want to run this discount on. So just select the day that you intend to start selling, and then however long you want to run this promotion for. Following that, you would come down here and select new, condition new. We know it's new because we've had the product manufactured just for us. The next thing we need to do is fill out the max order quantity. So there are two reasons why you need to select a max order quantity. The first reason is if we set a max order quantity, this means at any one given time you can only add this amount of products into the basket. What that does is it stops your competitors from tracking your daily sales and your stock. So it hinders them doing research on your listing. So yeah, go ahead and fill that into a max order quantity of 10, because sometimes customers do genuinely want to order, multiple or repeat purchases from you, and that's fine. And we don't want to punish our customers. All we're trying to do here is prevent other sellers from doing research on our listing. Now, the second reason why it's important to set an order quantity is because so basically when you launch a product, there are two main strategies. You can either run aggressive PPC or you can do a product giveaway. If you're doing a product giveaway, what that means is that you're discounting your product so much that anyone will buy it just because it's such a great perceived value. So in this instance, this fellow was running a discount for 97%. Someone saw that he was running it for 97% and they bought his entire stock. So it's really important that we're setting a max order quantity. In case we make a mistake like that, this just protects us. So someone can only order a maximum of 10 at a time. And the last thing we need to do is add the recommended retail price. So again, this is similar to how this worked here, the price and the sale price. So you want to make sure the recommended retail price is higher than your price. So we're going to type in $45. So what this will do again is this will make a comparison between the recommended retail price and your price. You can see that's $15 away from your price. And then again, with the sale price, you're further distancing yourself from your price here. So once you've done all of that, It's up to you if you want to tick remember this for next time, but I wouldn't, because you're going to be changing these so often that it's probably better just to leave that box alone. So after completing the offers tab, you can go ahead and skip compliance, and if you don't have your images, then skip your images. So the next thing we need to do is fill out the description. So the product description isn't actually the first bit of text that is seen on your listing, despite it being the first thing that's displayed inside your Seller Central. So to get to the product description, you actually need to scroll past the listing all the way to the bottom of the page, and it's pretty much just a reiteration on most people's listings of the product dimension. So don't stress yourself out too much about a product description, because where you actually describe your product is here under the key product features. So when you load the page, it's going to look like that. So you would just add all of these. It allows you to add 5 bullet points. So this is the main bit of text that your customers are going to see. Now, the absolute best way to fill in the key product features is to introduce the product feature, but then describe how that feature is a benefit. So you need to understand the difference between the feature and the benefit. So I'll just fill in this first one. So for the reusable produce bags, the feature is that it's eco-friendly material, right? So that's the feature, right? So what you do in this bit, add a little dash, and now you would describe that feature in detail. So how is this feature beneficial to me as the customer? So it's eco-friendly, that's the feature. The benefit of it being eco-friendly is that you don't need to buy a plastic bag every time you go shopping. So something like that. So the benefit of it being a eco-friendly bag is that you're saving money every time you go shopping, because you don't have to keep constantly buying plastic bags. So you would rinse and repeat that for the first 4 steps. And then the last step, you would put something like this: 30-day money-back guarantee. So the reason you would put this is because as a new seller, we don't have much social proof, we don't have many reviews. But what we can do is we can mitigate the risk associated with our customer buying our product. Even though we don't have the social proof in terms of a lot of reviews, we can still say to our customer, we believe in our product so much and we know that you will enjoy it after buying it. We'll give you a 30-day no fuss guarantee that you can get your money back if you want to return it, which is outside of the standard time that Amazon give you to claim your product back. So all we're doing here is we're reducing the risk involved with making that purchase, and it's just pulling them in one step closer. We're just tightening that rope a little bit, and we're trying to get them to click on that sale. So as I said, with the first 4 points, you're just going to reiterate different product features and then expand on that feature and how that is beneficial to your customer. So following on from the description, you're going to go to your keywords tab. So we can ignore the platinum keyword and the target audience and just focus on the search terms. So generally speaking, Amazon only allow 250 characters. It's actually 250 bytes, but typically 1 byte equals 1 character. There are certain examples on some foreign keyboards where 1 character equals 2 bytes. So just bear that in mind. But generally speaking, you're allowed 250 characters. So your search terms, this is where you would type in every single keyword associated with your product, but do not repeat the same keyword once. So let's say we typed in reusable produce bags. What we wouldn't need to do now is type in something like vegetable carry bag, right? Because we've already indexed for the word bags. So we could just type in vegetable carry. But if someone typed in on Amazon vegetable carry bag, we would still rank because we've included those keywords. It's just not in that coherent order. So what you would do is you would add every single keyword that's relevant to your product. So every single search term that you can think of that people might be searching for to find your product, you would type in here. So this is where you're going to think of synonyms for your product. So carry bag, reusable, you would type in something like eco-friendly, the material you're using. So I don't know whatever material is. Type in your brand name. What you aren't allowed to do is type in other brand name competitors. So basically, Amazon don't like it if you rank for someone else's brand, because that's sort of a dishonest way of making a sale, and Amazon don't like that. So bear that in mind, because they will punish you if they do a check on your back end keywords and they see that you are trying to rank for a competitor's brand. then they will not be happy with you. So there are ways of doing keyword research, which we will get into in another video. As a beginner's guide, this is just sort of a walkthrough rather than an in-depth keyword tutorial. So we can ignore the more details tab and then just go ahead and click save and finished, and that is you sort of preliminarily done with your listing for now. There is a lot more that we can go into, but as a beginner's guide, I didn't want to go too heavy into it. So the final thing we need to discuss before we move on to point 4 of this video is images. So I sort of skipped over it just then, and that's because I wanted to elaborate on it a bit more at the end of this section. So what I've noticed with images, and this is through split testing, it's through observing my own listings and friends and peers of mine that sell on Amazon, through observing the data that they've given me through their listings, there tends to actually be a formula with your photos, and it goes like this. Photo number 1 absolutely has to be on a white background. That's Amazon's terms of service. Photos 2 and 3 should be an infographic. So this is an image displaying the sort of the dimensions of the product. However, you don't want to waste a photo just on the dimensions. So if you could still have the product in use while also displaying the dimensions, that will really help your listing score. Images 4 to 6 should be lifestyle images. So these are not only pictures of your product in a real scenario, but they should actually be pictures based on the keywords. So for example, as we were walking through the keywords just then, one of the keywords we picked were vegetable carry bag. So if that actually happened to be a keyword that customers regularly searched for, you could relay that into one of your pictures, and you could have the one of the lifestyle images of your bag carrying vegetables, and so on and so forth. So you would fine tune your keywords, pick out the most relevant ones or the highest converting ones, and then make those your lifestyle images. And then finally, the last image, you want to showcase your product in an alternative setting or an alternative way that your customers aren't searching for. So it just it sort of displays the diversity with your product, that it might, it may be a reusable produce bag, but it can also carry other things, or it has a different use that maybe your customers haven't thought of. So so you're putting that thought in your customer's mind. So that's another great tip, and it's another great way to make some those few extra sales. Alright guys, I hope you're still with me. So we're on part 4 now, and we're nearing the end of the video, so hang in there. I hope you're still with me. So part 4, we're going to be discussing barcodes and shipping. So where do you buy your barcodes from, and how do you actually ship your stock from China to either Amazon if you're doing FBA, or your home address if you're doing FBM. So as you can see on the screen, there are 7 points that we are going to discuss in this section. So they are GS1, and don't worry if you don't know what any of these terms mean right now, because I'm going to elaborate on every single one of these terms in a minute. So hang in there. So we're going to discuss GS1, stickering, inspections, sea freight or air freight, and your shipping terms, which are EXW or FOB. Alright guys, welcome back. So the first thing you need to do before you actually ship your stock to an Amazon warehouse is to buy your barcodes. So there are a few different websites that you can buy your barcodes from. However, there is only one company in the entire world that actually manufacture barcodes, and they are GS1. So GS1, being the only company that can produce a barcode, they can charge whatever the hell they want. And obviously every single item that's ever shipped, that's ever purchased, has to have a barcode. So because they know that, they charge like £500 or $500 for one barcode, which is a load of money. But there are these other websites exist, like Speedy Barcodes, which is who I use, that you can get a bunch of barcodes for like $15. However, if you go through the Speedy Barcodes route like I do, it means you don't own the barcode, because they've bought it through GS1 and then I've bought it through them. So I'm actually the second owner of that barcode. And Amazon don't really like that. At the moment, they sort of don't like it, but they don't dislike it enough to do anything about it. So eventually Amazon may make it a rule that every barcode has to come through GS1. And originally, yes, your barcode will be through GS1, but you won't get the like certification to authenticate that through GS1, and Amazon have the ability to track that. So eventually Amazon may track it and ask you to prove that you bought through GS1. And even though your barcode will be owned through GS1, you'll be the second owner of that barcode, and Amazon don't like that. So bear that in mind. You can either buy your barcode straight through GS1 and have no worries, but spend a heap of money on a barcode, or you can buy 10-15 barcodes for $10-15, but maybe one day Amazon might get a bit funny about it. But as of right now, Amazon don't really care enough to do anything about it. So the next thing we need to discuss is who is going to sticker your barcodes onto your cartons for you. So you can do this there's a few ways to do this. You can either get them printed onto the cartons, or you can get barcode stickers. So I would always recommend getting barcode stickers in case because the barcode can smudge across shipping, because you're going to be barcoding it, and that product is going to take a month until it gets to an Amazon warehouse. So if you're on like sea freight, then your barcodes are going to be enduring Mother Nature for a month on a boat, so they could smudge, and if they smudge and they don't scan, then your product won't be accepted into the fulfillment center. So I would always recommend getting a sticker, and there are many ways that you can you get multiple like 30 sticker pages that you can just put a barcode on. So I would always recommend doing that. The second point to stickering your barcodes on your cartons is who is going to do it. So you can either get Amazon to put your barcodes on for you, which they will charge you a fee for. I think it's 10 cents a barcode, or you can get your supplier to do it. Don't quote me on that price through Amazon, because I never get Amazon to sticker my barcodes. They're quite pricey compared to your supplier. Typically your supplier will be able to do it for probably half the price. So ask your supplier if they can, if you send them over the barcode file, will they apply that to your products before shipping? And then finally, before we actually get to shipping the product, you may want to get an inspection. So this is up to you, and getting an inspection is really going to depend on primarily your budget. So if you've used up the majority of your money actually on the product, and you've only got just the right amount to pay for the shipping, then you're going to have to miss out on the inspection. Not everybody gets an inspection on their first product due to limited capital, and that's fine. But if that's the case, then I recommend you do your due diligence in communicating with your supplier before the product is shipped. So I mentioned this earlier in the product sourcing section, which was part 2, about communicating with your supplier on Skype or on video chat, so you can keep an eye on the production while it's happening. So that's if you can't afford an inspection. If you can afford an inspection, then you may as well, better safe than sorry. I'd rather have an inspection than not need it, than ship my goods into Amazon and it turns out they're all damaged, because by this point it's too late, and the goods are damaged, and we could have prevented that had we got the inspection. So following your choice on whether or not to inspect the products, now you need to actually ship the products to Amazon or to yourself. So you're going to need to decide whether or not you want to go the sea freight or the air freight. There are two sort of main factors to consider here, and they are time and price. However, logistics are also a very big consideration. So sea freight is a lot more confusing. There's a lot more paperwork and documents involved, whereas air freight, there's none of that. However, you can mitigate 100% of the documentation required during sea freight if you hire someone to handle your consignment for that part of the shipping. So anyway, the main considerations to worry about when it comes to shipping. So sea freight normally takes a minimum of around 3 weeks to ship your goods. So it could be 3 to 4 weeks until your goods actually get to your warehouse. However, it's considerably cheaper, whereas air freight is considerably quicker, but equally as expensive. So you could be looking to spend, $500 to $800 on a shipment, on a sea freight shipping plan, whereas that may cost you sort of $2,500 if you're doing it by air. However, like I said, air is quicker. So with air shipping, Air Express, you can get typically your goods to Amazon in no later than sort of 10 days, whereas it's going to take upwards of sort of 21 onwards if you're going the sea freight route. And then the last main thing you need to concern yourself with is the shipping terminologies should you go with the sea freight, which I recommend, by the way, because you're not really on a time limit at the moment. You're not restricted by time, but you're probably restricted by your budget at the moment if it's your first product. So I would recommend sea freight for that reason. So if you did pick sea freight, the terminologies you need to be aware of are typically EXW and FOB. So these are terms used in the shipping industry that refer to the liability. So which party is liable for those products. So EXW, which mems Ex Works, means once your supplier has finished producing your goods, they are no longer responsible for the maintenance of those goods. So if your product gets damaged in their warehouse after production is finished, then you are liable for that damage because you've not paid anyone to be accountable. Whereas FOB, which stands for either freight on board or free on board, this means your supplier will ship your products from their warehouse onto the vessel. So they will get it to the dock and they will get it onto the ship. And during that transit, they are responsible for any damage that happens. So FOB will obviously incur another fee. So this is typically a minimum of around $100, but it's well worth it just in case anything does happen to your products, then you've got that covered. So in summary, I would suggest sea freight, FOB, and maybe go for marine insurance as well, because this is going to offer you just that little bit more protection when your product is actually on the vessel. Alright guys, step number 5. So we have made it to the end of the video, and in this part we're going to be talking about how to launch your product and how to get reviews. So as you can see on the screen, there are 5 points we want to go over. So the first 2 points we're going to go over is how to launch your product, and that is either giveaways or through PPC. And in the last 3 points we're going to talk about is how to get those reviews. So your email sequence, the early reviewer program, and leveraging social influencers. So let's discuss giveaways first and why I do not recommend them. So once upon a time, you could pay for a giveaway service that would essentially create a coupon for you that would discount your product by something ridiculous like 95-97%. And people would buy your coupon through these guys and it would be bought through Amazon. So it would rank you for that keyword for a 95 or plus discount. Now, there are a few reasons why I don't like this method. So the first being, if you're doing giveaways like this, that's not representative of your product being a good product. People are buying your product just because it's discounted that heavily. Like if I saw a toothbrush that was like 97% off, I'd probably buy the new toothbrush, even though I don't, I'm perfectly happy with my electric toothbrush. But we're suckers to a good deal, and when we feel like we're getting a good deal, we'll buy it, even if we had no actual intention of buying the product. So my first point is it's not accurate data. So you could get 20 sales a day doing this method, and then you stop your giveaways, and then the next day you only get 2 sales, even though you've managed to rank on page 1, because people were never actually interested in your product. They were just interested in the value that your product was offering them. The second reason I don't like giveaways is because you don't learn anything about inside your Seller Central account if you're doing a giveaway. So the alternative to a giveaway is doing PPC. So when you're doing PPC, you're learning the ins and outs of Amazon. You're learning what keywords are converting, what keywords aren't converting. With a giveaway, you're not learning any of that. You're just giving your business over to somebody else and saying, hey, launch me on page 1, and then I'll sort of take over when I'm on page 1, when I'm at the most vital stage, but actually I don't know what I'm doing because I've let somebody else launch my product for me. So it's a bit strange. And the final reason I don't like it is because incentivized reviews are no longer a thing. So Amazon disallow buyers to leave a review if they have purchased a product that has been too heavily discounted. I'm not sure what the cutoff point is. It may be 50% or a bit lower, but if you buy a product, let's say for 65% discount, Amazon will not let you leave a review for that product. So it's sort of devalued the whole giveaway prospect. So you can no longer just give away tons of products for a ridiculous discount because Amazon don't allow a review for that. So actually all you're doing is spending loads of money on a giveaway to rank to page 1, and perhaps you'll still rank on page 1, but you won't get any reviews. And then what happens when you take the giveaway off, you've got no social proof, you're on page 1, but nobody really knows you exist, and then you just you slowly drop back down through the ranks again. So that's why I personally don't like giveaways. So the alternative to giveaways is to simply create your PPC campaigns. And there are loads of things you can do with PPC. So you can do automatic campaigns, you can do negative words, you can do manual campaigns, exact match, phrase match. There are so many things you can do with PPC, and like I said in the giveaways, you learn so much more about your business and about your customer. That's the most important thing. You learn about your customer when you're doing PPC, because you learn the search terms, you learn the search volume, you get to learn about your customer, you get to learn what they like and what they dislike. So I would always recommend PPC for an effective launch strategy. So if you are going the PPC route, here's what you do. The second your product gets to Amazon, you create an automatic campaign. Set yourself a good budget for your daily budget, right? The higher your daily budget, the faster you're going to be able to gather data and then change your campaigns, which are going to become cheaper. So don't worry about it. So if you were willing to spend, $500 to $1,000 on a giveaway, be prepared to do the same for PPC, right? So let's say you set yourself a daily budget of $40 for your PPC. Run that for a week or 2 weeks, and then you'll get loads of data. Once you've got all that data, it will tell you what keywords are ranking and what keywords aren't. So when you have that data, what you would do with the keywords that are taking the majority of your budget, you would put that keyword into a negative keyword in that same automatic campaign. What that does when you put a keyword into negative is that it will still search Amazon for every single keyword that is related to your product, except for the keyword that you have put in negative. So if you have 1 or 2 keywords that are eating up the majority of your budget, put them in negative so they're not eating up your budget. That way it allows the automatic campaign to go out there and find those other keywords that you weren't allowed to find before because your budget was being eaten up by these really high converting keywords. Then you can create a manual campaign with those really high converting keywords, and you can target specific keywords rather than targeting the whole of Amazon. So when you get those keywords that are converting well, create a manual campaign, and it's up to you. There are 3 different options when it comes to creating a manual campaign: exact match, phrase match, and broad. So that gives you some scope on the adjustability of your PPC abilities and just how far reaching it is with PPC. So when it comes to reviews, what you want to bear in mind is what your ACOS is. So your ACOS is an acronym, ACOS, which stands for the advertised cost of sale. So if you are selling a product for $20 and you spend $2 on PPC to get that sale, your ACOS would be 10%. So the goal with your ACOS is to get it as low as possible. So this means you're spending the least amount of PPC while getting the highest amount of return in sales. So now you've launched your product and you've set up your PPC campaigns, now it's time to start getting reviews. There are a few different ways to go about this. So generally speaking, you're going to get reviews by sending out an email to your customer. So there are a few different services that we can use, and one of those services is actually provided by Amazon. So it's called the Early Reviewer Program. However, in principle, I don't like this program. So you have to pay for the program, which is fine. If if it's a paid service and they are fulfilling a duty that helps you out, then I'm fine to pay for it. However, the program works because Amazon will message people and say, hey, if you leave a review for this guy, we'll give you a gift card for it's between $1 to $3. Now, the reason I don't like that is that Amazon stopped incentivized reviews for sellers. So what that meant is that as sellers, we weren't allowed to say to a customer, hey, I'll give you a discount if you leave me a good review. But somehow it's okay for Amazon to say, hey, if you leave this guy a review, I'll give you a gift card. It's essentially the same thing. So in principle, I already don't like this service. However, if this is something you are interested in, I believe it's $60 and they guarantee you 5 reviews. Whether they are 1-star or 5-star, it remains to be seen. And they select their audience at random, apparently. Now, if you're not interested in that, the next thing I would recommend is checking out an email automation service. So the company that I use is called Feedback Wiz. They're incredibly easy to operate, and when you first try the program out, when you first create your account, they have a very simple walkthrough, a picture walkthrough that will guide you through setting up your account and integrating it with your Seller Central. So Feedback Whiz will allow you to send out emails automatically to your customers once they have made a purchase. So typically the way I would do this is I would set up 3 email campaigns per sale. So I would get one the second the item has been dispatched, saying thanks for your purchase, it's been dispatched and it's on its way. And then 2 days later I ask for honest feedback and honest review, and then again 7 days later, just in case they didn't read the 2 days. Now the reason I said I would ask for an honest review is because this is part of Amazon's terms of service. So we are not allowed to incentivize a review, we're not allowed to ask for a good review. So all we can do is provide the best customer service and then ask for an honest review. How did you honestly feel under my care as a seller? Did you enjoy the product? How did you feel being looked after by me? And also what I like to say in the emails is, if you have any negative feedback, then leave it with me personally rather than leaving it on my seller account. Because this way it gives me a chance to amend your problem before you leave a negative review, so I can solve your problem faster, and it also makes my account look better if it doesn't have a negative review. So inside Feedback Whiz they already have pre-built templates, so you can go and load one of these templates, and then you can alter it the way that you want to shape the sort of email you want to send, or you can simply use their pre-built template as it is. And they're also fully optimized for mobile devices, which I really like, because I found some really interesting stats not long ago that 60% of emails are opened via mobile phones, and the time we send the email is also really important. So I think off the top of my head it's something like 23% of all emails are read within the hour of being sent, because we can literally access them immediately. Because if you get a notification on your phone that you've got an email, you can just pop it up on your phone and read it then and there. So it's really interesting to find out those sorts of stats, because that really helps you in how to create a successful email template. And then the final thing you can do to help promote your product and to get a review is with the help of social influencers. So this helps with sales, primarily helps with sales. But in doing so, you are hopefully getting a review, because once you make that sale, it's going to be hooked up to your email sequence, and then boom, there goes your email, and hopefully they leave a review. So what I would suggest doing is contacting a bunch of different influencers, sending them out your product for free and asking them to promote it on their various platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is. Sometimes they don't have to obviously advertise it, they can sort of inadvertently advertise it, just leave the product in the video somewhere. This way it feels more natural and it's a bit more organic, rather than having someone physically sponsor you and say, hey, check out this product, because sometimes that can actually put people off wanting to try that product out. So those are the methods I use to launch my product and to get reviews. The number one way to get reviews in this day and age is to build out a successful email template. So go and check out the other videos on my channel, because I've got loads of videos around email templates and how to optimize your email. And so that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking it out to the end. It's a long video. So if you found the video of use to you as a beginner into FBA, then it really motivates me to keep on making these videos if I see that they're being well received. So please like the video, share it and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload another video. And also come and join the Facebook group. The link is in the description below. And if you're interested in being mentored, then please let me know and I will be happy to help you. I'm mentoring a few people at the moment, and I'm working on a few different projects. So I'm happy to take on more students while I have the availability. So if that's something you're interested in, then please let me know. And thank you for your attention, and I will see you in the next video.